it's Chi. Welcome to my channel. Today I've got 5 journals in front of me. Now they all share one thing in common, and that is I made them all from scratch. That includes the stitching, binding, covering, decorating. And today I want to show you how you can do the same using very few supplies. The absolute best part is you do not need any fancy supplies or a big budget to do this. So these two I'm holding here are the most recent ones I made. It was very beginner friendly and I'll show you just how I did it. So here are some materials you'll need. The first and most important thing obviously is paper. I like to go with an A2 size, and full disclosure, this isn't really quite A2, but it's big enough that I can make multiple A5s out of it. Optionally, you can use a craft knife for trimming. For binding, it's important that you have a needle and thread, or you can use staple pins. You can use either or of these, because if you use the needle and thread, you won't need the staple pins and vice versa. And then right after paper, the most important thing you'll need is a thumbtack or push pin, something to poke holes into the paper where you're going to do the spine. As you can see, it's very few materials. You can also put a ruler if you want straight edges as well. First, I'm going to take this A2 size sheet and breaking it down into A5 or A4 rather. So I just split in half and then tear it literally. I don't really like using scissors. But if you like a neater style, then you can use the scissors for that. Then I just score it, making sure the edges are as crisp as possible, so that when I tear it, it doesn't go wayward. So as you can see here, we've got A4 sized papers, and I'm going to do the same process on the other half of the sheet. Now we've got 8 of them. Now, if you want to add even more papers, you can do so, but for me, I feel like this length of a journal will be fine. So I'm going to take that A4 and I'm going to fold it into half, just seeing that this is the size of the journal I want, and I'm okay with it. So I'm just going to fold all the papers in half and then stack them inside each other. So you can choose how thick you want your journal depending on how many pages you use. If you like chunky journals, go wild. If you want something light and portable, keep it minimal, and keep in mind that binding it will be harder the more pages you use. Now, this part is very optional. I would like to emphasize you do not need to do this. It looks fine either way. This is one which is trimmed, and this is one where I didn't trim the edges. In book binding, they call this paper creep, where you stack pages in each other and then they start to creep out of the book. So what I like to do is I like to trim with a craft knife because I don't have a paper guillotine. I just use a long ruler and a craft knife to cut off the edges. But once again, the crafty kind of rough look can be cute in its own right. Like, this journal came out fine to me. But I'm just going to show you how you can do it. So I take a long ruler, line it up quite straight, and I press down hard, making sure to keep the ruler straight, and do that over and over up until the pieces are cut off. I would also just like to point out that a cutting mat is a good investment. The trick with cutting like this is you have to go layer by layer. Don't try cut it all at once. So here's our journal that came out quite straight and nice. And with that being said, let's get into binding. Now, I mentioned there are 2 ways you can do this. So depending on what you want on our spine here, you can bind all the papers together with staples, or for this one, I'm going to use a needle and thread. And this one is not a special needle and thread, it's just the same ones you get in like a sewing pack. Now, regardless whether you're using either of these two, you're going to always need a thumbtack or something to push holes through your paper on the spine so that you can put your thread through, or the staples. Right, for the needle and thread method, you can measure where you want your holes, but I usually just eyeball it. I take my thumbtack and then I push a hole through where I want it, somewhere close to the edge, then one in the middle. Please keep in mind where your fingers are as you do this, because you don't want to prick yourself. And then one finally at the end. So I like to make sure they're decently spaced apart. Now, I would like to mention some people put more holes, but because this is beginner friendly and fast, I'll just put 3. Now, this is a regular needle and thread like I mentioned, but the thicker needle and thicker thread, the better. You won't see it, but it does like give you reassurance that your spine will stay together. As for measuring the length of the thread, I just take one line, I guess. I just unravel it and then I double it. And you want to make sure that when you double it, it fits through the eye of your needle. It's much easier if you have a thick thread. That way you don't have to double it. But anyway, I just like to measure 3 times the length of my journal because I am going to fold the thread in on itself, if that makes sense. So once I'm sure that I've got enough thread, I struggle for a while. You want to make sure to really struggle, and I sped this up quite a lot and get frustrated and then inevitably go off screen and come back with a perfectly threaded needle. Alright, so now that I've got my threaded needle, I'm just going to measure it once more to make sure. And let's get into the binding. So you're going to take your needle and go in through the middle hole and pull it through, but leave a tail, leave a bit of some of that thread behind. You're going to need it later. Turn over the journal and then go back in through the other hole. It doesn't matter which one, it just has, as long as it's not the middle, but then just pull your needle through and then go back in through the middle and make sure to hold the tail so that it doesn't get pulled through. And make sure that it's secure and taut, not loose and wobbly, because that will mean your pages will wobble around. You don't want to do it too tight because the thread will start to cut into the paper, but just make sure it doesn't have too much slack when you yank on the thread. Now that you've gone out the middle, you're going to go back through the other hole that you haven't gone through yet. So you're going to pull it through to the front once again. Sorry, I was just adjusting my needle here. Go through the hole and pull it tight enough. And here you can cut it and tie the 2 ends if you'd like, but I like to make sure the bottom is as secure as the top is. So I'm going to loop it once again through the middle, take it out to the back, and then from the back, I'm going to bring it through the hole that I just went through and pull it out. And then now I'm going to cut off the ends and then tie them together. This will clearly make sure that the binding doesn't fall apart, and usually I then cover this string with washi tape so that it doesn't show. Now if you were to ask me which binding method to go with, whether needle and thread or staples, I would definitely say the needle and thread. It's much sturdier, and if you rough up your journal, not on purpose like I'm doing here, but I'm just showing you that it doesn't come apart. Obviously, if you rip up pages, it will come apart, but for the most part, this stays together pretty well. So this section, I'm going to show you the staple method, but if you'd like to skip ahead, you can do so on this timestamp. So you'll need your paper here, your staple pins, and your thumbtack. I'm just using a different paper here, but essentially, so you've folded and cut your papers. And now you want to take 3 or 4, depending on how many you want on your spine. I'm just going to do 4 here. You're going to take them apart, and then you're going to line them up exactly the spacing that you want to put your binding. Take your push pin and then lightly mark, well, it's kind of finicky here, but lightly mark where the pins are and the size of them. The spacing is really important here as well. I'm just going to quickly reinforce where I marked so that I can clearly see it when I'm now pushing the pin through. Then you're going to take your thumbtack and make holes where you marked. I just like to make sure that the holes are clearly wide enough for the staple to go through. I'm just going to make sure I keep the papers together as I turn it over to the other side. Well, first of all, make sure that the hole is clear enough. And then I take my staple pin and I push it into the hole. Another annoying thing about this method is sometimes the pins get caught onto the paper, so you just have to really measure well. Once it's flipped to the other side, just flatten the ends into the paper. You're going to repeat that 3 more times till you have your binding done. I'm just going to quickly show the process again here in case you missed it. Use your thumbtack to make holes on both sides of the paper, make them wide enough. Put your staple pin in those holes and then flatten the ends. It's pretty simple, and this method is easy, but I just prefer the needle and thread more. Now that your book is bound, you can put a cover on. There are multiple ways to do this. You can just write on the cover and call it a day, but I like to go a little extra mile. My covers range a bit, but usually I just decorate the cover with stickers, or I like to leave it plain with a paper and call it a day. Regardless, for the cover, the materials I use are a thick paper, a plain one or a decorative one, some washi tape mainly for the spine, double-sided tape to adhere everything, and a pair of scissors to cut out the paper. Then, of course, my favorite part are stickers when I'm decorating the cover. Now, if you want to put stickers on your journal but you don't have a collection of stickers, or you want to customize them yourself, I do have a video where I show you how to make stickers at home, and I'll link it up right here. So let's get to covering the spine. Usually I just put washi tape. I'm just going to reinforce it with double-sided tape to make sure the washi tape doesn't peel off over time. You can also put the washi tape over the paper. But the paper here, I'm just taking the yellow paper that I had put and cutting it down. I'll show you again how I did that. I take the size of the paper I want. You can use 2 different things for the back cover and front cover, but I'm just using the same for this video. I'm going to measure where I want it to start and end, so then I score it. I cut out where I've drawn those lines. I like to adhere using double-sided tape because it's quite sturdy just along the edge, but you can also use glue. Now, it's okay if it's not perfectly aligned or anything like that. I mean, it is your journal, but just to cover up those mistakes, I just used a matching highlighter and made sure that those white spots aren't visible. Now comes time for my favorite part, which is decorating the cover. And like I said, I usually use stickers. I don't really have a method to this. I just bring out my collection and go through it. And I have this folder of stickers that I keep specifically for decorating. So I just go through them and I pick ones that I want, set them aside. For placement, I like to put the bigger stickers first, go around and put the smaller ones next. And then the tiny ones go in the gaps. Now, it goes without saying, but your cover is totally your own choice. You can print pictures, you can draw, you can literally use junk, you can theme it, color match it, literally do anything. No true journals have to look the same, and that's my favorite part, but usually I just go with a lot of stickers. Now I'm pretty much done with this decorating, but I felt that the blank spaces were too many, so I just doodled some stars and a few circles, and it came together so well in my opinion. And just like that, you've got your own journal! I love mine so much. It looks so cute. I'm really enjoying all the stickers and the doodles. There was a point where I thought it was coming out ugly, but I managed to salvage it in the end with the stickers. So also for the back cover, I usually just put one singular sticker, but for this one, I just want to leave it plain. As for protecting your journal from the elements or just getting dirty or the stickers falling off, you can use contact paper or a plastic cover. Usually that really keeps your journal intact. I'm not going to do that on this one, but I do it on a lot of my other journals and it usually keeps them safe. So if you've been wanting to start your journaling but didn't want to spend money on new notebooks, or you just want to try a new craft, this is your sign. And if you try this, I would love to see what you make. I'm Cheese Scribbles on TikTok. And I'll be making a lot more journaling process videos and making actual journals too. I'd just like to mention that there is another method where I put multiple signatures in one book. If you'd like to see that, I can make a video on it. Just let me know in the comments. And that method is very good if you like chunky journals. Oh my gosh, you made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go make 5 more of these now just because I can. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!